Hello everyone and welcome back to the Razer Recap. Today, of course, it is going to be me, Hunter, and our friend Pete behind the scenes who is going to be talking about some stories. You ready, Pete?
Let's do it.
Let's get into it. So perhaps some of the biggest news that we had this past week was with the Sentinels. Of course, there was a lot of drama involved, and we'll get into some of the aftermath, I think, towards the end there. But we had the Sentinels who got accused by a lot of big teams, right, of what they were calling cheating, which is probably technically correct, but I feel weird saying, oh, you guys were cheating, because in the end they end up getting caught for geofiltering. This was Royal 2, who had basically been pinging his location, so they were always playing on just the same server.
Competitive ruling. He's suspended. They didn't tell us. They just suspended. They just posted it to Twitter. No, swear to God.
They have our flag. Take it back.
Effective immediately, suspension of royalty from competitive until January 28th, 2022. As a result, Sentinels will be unable to field the full roster, unable for pool play. The rest will also compete in the open. Yeah, we're not going to be going, guys. Just so you know.
The funniest thing was Frosty and Lethal just coming out real hard, saying that all this proof that we're going to show Microsoft in 343 that nothing was wrong. That this is complete bullshit. And like 4 hours later, Royal 2 is like, oh no, I did it. Whoops. Sorry, guys.
It was such a weird situation because there were so many of them who reacted instantly to this news. So as far as we know, and as far as the players have communicated, they did not know anything about this happening. The investigation, of course, they knew about, but they didn't know this announcement was going up by HCS. And so the announcement comes out. We see Snakebite live on stream, find out. And of course, like you said, Lethal and Frosty, who all react pretty much the same, which was confused by the ruling and also a little bit pissed off, I'll say. They were like, man, there's no way this is true. The whole investigation was rigged the whole time. And they really supported Royal 2, which, I mean, commend them for that.
And he let him do it for like 8 hours. It wasn't like he jumped in right away to be like, oh no, sorry guys, my bad. Like, this drug out for like 6 or 7 hours on the timeline. And then we find out that not only is Royal 2 gone and the Sentinels have been kicked to open brackets, but who's taking Royal's spot?
Right.
Our boy Formal.
Oh my gosh.
Formal pulls a FaZe Clan on Space Station Gaming to just, hours before an event kicks off. He's like, bye Space Station, I'm with Sentinels, which is exactly what FaZe Clan did to him before the first NA Open qualifier.
Which you have to feel bad for Space Station at this point. Also still funny because the Sentinels players were so convinced that they were not going to Raleigh in any capacity. The ones who remained were like, no, we're not going to be there. 100% actually is what Lethal said in the end, and Snakebite was said, yeah guys, I can go ahead and tell you now, we won't be there. And then Formal walks in and they are going to be there. I think something we talked about in the office before, which is kind of hilarious, is thinking about they're not allowed to be in group play anymore. And so now they're only allowed to play in the open bracket. Right? And so imagine you're just some normal dudes, you walk in and you're playing against freaking Formal and the rest of Sentinel's roster.
Yes, or to give him his full name, OpTic Sentinels Station Formal.
So who knows how it's going to go. This will be, by the time you're watching this is on Friday, so the event has started now.
It should have just kicked off.
And so we'll see how they perform. Personally, I think it's a really good storyline. I think, start from the open bracket instead of in groups. And if you win this whole thing, like that's
amazing.
Insane.
But also, I feel, like you mentioned, like the end, I feel so bad for, little Timmy and his team coming up in the open. They put in their $200.
Right.
They got their team going. Round one, who are we playing? Oh, the back-to-back world champions and also Formal are playing in our open bracket. GG's. I guess we'll just go home.
So Sentinels now at this point disqualified. Royal 2 is suspended until I think February or something crazy like that.
Late January maybe.
Yeah, and so now we have Formal playing with them in the open bracket in Raleigh, and we'll have to see how it goes. DrDisrespect now also following through with his promise of a gaming studio. We saw a little bit of teasers here and there. We've seen his old, the guy, like his name Guy Twitter account also reactivate. We've seen some posts here and there, but now it was an official announcement along with a name for his studio, that being the Midnight Society.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where for a long time we didn't know this was just like a giant debate from Doc, like his Call of Duty team. There was always a 50-50 chance this was the game thing was real or not, but it is not only real, it has some massive names attached. You've got one of the former marketing strategists from Call of Duty. You've got the sandbox designer from Halo Infinite, who literally just left the company days ago, apparently left to go be one of the head devs over for Midnight Society. So Doc's poaching some of the biggest COD talent. He's poaching some of the biggest Halo talent. Like, he's got huge names involved, and it looks like this vertical battle royale is actually going to happen, which is kind of wild to think about.
So we've seen, you reminded me of that. We saw a few screenshots that Doc himself shared on stream before of this. It's like a tower BR supposedly. We'll see how it works. But just thinking about Doc's BR, Doc's game, they say already, I don't remember who it was, but one of them took to Twitter saying this is going to be very PvP focused. It's going to be tight knit. We're going to want it to be PvP focused. But as far as esports go, we're not necessarily going to gear it for esports, but we think that esports is going to choose us anyways, because that's just the sort of game that they envision making. But I'm curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and which is great because just yesterday on stream during Doc's own esports event, during Doc's own 25K Warzone Invitational, he went on a bit of a rant about how esports actually ruin games, talking about how esports has kind of ruined Call of Duty since Black Ops 2 and how it's kind of ruined this new Warzone map. So I like that it kind of fits in his whole message of like, we don't want to tailor this game to esports. We're going to make an amazing game, and esports is going to come to us, and we're not going to adjust it. We're going to keep it like organic and for the players. At least that's the goal. And as Tim the Tatman pointed out, like the one thing you better have is the best sound design we've ever heard in a battle royale.
Right. I feel like we've seen Doc complain about every single game's like sound design, ranking system, how much fun it is. I don't know. He's very critical. So I imagine this has to be one of the best games that comes out in the next year, or else it's just going to fail miserably. But you guys let us know what you think. Do you think that this is going to be one of the best games we've ever seen from Doc, or is it just going to fail? We also had some news this week that likely didn't surprise too many people. I have to say, Nick Merckx, now known pretty widely for streaming Apex all day, every day. He goes for events. We saw him go over to Warzone for a little while just for the new map and stuff like that. But now on stream directly saying, hey guys, even if I'm visiting that, I am committed to Apex Legends at this point, which I think shows in his streams.
I want to, I want to keep climbing the ranks of Predator, and then I want to get to a point where we're very comfortable, me, Deeds, and whoever we pick up as a trio before late February, and then I want to go for Apex Pro. You know what I mean? That's what I want to do now, but we might get to January, and that might change. I have no idea. It probably won't. That's really what I want to do. I do want to go back and play Call of Duty. I do miss playing with Clocky and Tim and those guys, man. It's fun playing with them.
He's at a point where he signed his big money deal. He's making that crazy Twitch money. He's just here to play the games he loves, and right now what he loves is grinding to Predator and Apex. And he's like, well, for this next season, I'm not going to stop at Predator. Me and It's Deeds are going to go pro. We're going to, kind of pull a nice wig and an It's Timmy. We're going to get out there, go pro for the ALGS, and that's going to be my plan for 2022.
I have to say respect overall to Nick for this and the attitude that he's carried. I know a lot of people have their very strong opinions about Nick Merckx. You're either in fan for life or you hate him so much. I think he has a massive ego, but I think props to him for this decision because, yeah, obviously he's not carrying the viewership. And he's talked about it, like you said, it's like 13,000 less on average than what he was carrying in Warzone, which is a big money difference in the end. 13,000 people watching you for your ads, maybe subscribing to you, even donating, stuff like that. Like, that's a lot of money to miss out on. But now Nick is committing to this, saying, hey, I've gotten Predator twice already. Let's go for a third time, and let's go pro, compete in the ALGS. Ultimately, for me, I'm excited about it because I think this could bring some viewership, right? We've seen Wig, we saw Timmy, like you said, all come to it, which I think brought more viewership and more hype into the ALGS atmosphere. And so I think this could do the same thing.
I mean, he's done it before. Like he's a former pro back in the MLG days of like Halo and Gears of War. Like it's not unreasonable that he could at least compete, and he's good enough to compete. Maybe not to win it, but he could, pull a nice wig and It's Timmy, maybe get top 20. Like that's entirely reasonable.
I'm honestly, I think, jealous that he's gotten a Predator twice and still loves the game and still loves streaming it. Like, if you can grind that 2 times and want to go for a third and keep going, then, like, you actually enjoy that game.
Yeah. When I get to gold, I want to shoot myself in the head because it's the sweatiest, most miserable thing ever, but it's still a really fun game.
Yeah, so we'll have to see where this goes, how he will compete. He says that's his focus for now. It could change, but Nick Merckx supposedly going pro in Apex Legends. The past couple weeks have been very interesting, I think, for the Call of Duty scene. We're going to have a couple stories, but the first one we're going to talk about is specifically Call of Duty Vanguard in the CDL, the league, not the Warzone side of things. And so, starting off, I'm just going to read a tweet real quick from OpTic Hitch. Hitch said, Vanguard so far has been a complete spit in the face to competitive Call of Duty. I'd much rather have an official press release from Activision explaining how little they care about the future of the esport. Most watched console esport in the world at one point. Sad. I'll get your thoughts on this, but to me, that is just a really big thing to say, hey, they're spitting in the face of all of us right now at this point, all the players, all the orgs who are committed to the CDL, because it doesn't seem like their priorities are in line right now.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of pros complaining about, like when it first came out, the big complaint was like, hey, this is like Diet R6. Like, why am I shooting all these walls and breaking all these windows? And then you had people realize just how bad the level design was. There's one great clip of an experiment where a guy runs across the map. There's like 4 houses and 2 hills in between him and the other guy, and he just shoots dead ahead and hits the other guy straight through and kills the other guy. So like there's terrible like hit detection. The map design's real wonky. People hate the spawns. They don't like the R6 elements. It's really buggy. And then on top, and it just seems very unpolished.
Right.
It feels like it was rushed out, and a lot of COD pros like, oh, this is ridiculous. It's being rushed out. Obviously, they care more about Warzone. But as we'll get into later, Warzone has its own problems. But for right now, man, like, unless you're Doug Sensor Martin, you don't really enjoy Call of Duty Vanguard.
I was going to say a lot of players seem to be unhappy with it, which the ones who are still in the league have even openly said like they can't really criticize the game or else they're going to get fined for it, which is wild and
Octane
a whole
was
other
like,
issue.
I can't say anything because they got my bank account on file there.
Exactly.
But man, yeah, but when Doug posted his whole thing about like, you know, if you don't love Call of Duty Vanguard, you're not a real COD pro, and I'll block you. And then aBeZy just posted, use this tweet as a dislike button, and it just got thousands and thousands of likes.
Just an extreme ratio there. But we've seen players like Formal, who has left the league, of course, now playing Halo, who has openly said like, yeah, I'm so glad I'm not playing this year because it's awful. It's a bad game. I don't want to play it. I'd be so unhappy. And we've seen a lot of other pros or former pros, as well as people in the Challengers League that are like well known, also quit and say, hey, I'm just not enjoying this at this point. And so I would rather take a step back this season and try out Halo for 1 season and see what happens, because to me that seems more beneficial and I'll be happier in the long run.
Oh, and that's the other part is, man, not only are you having to play this inferior version of Call of Duty, but then you look over at Valorant and you look over at Halo and you're like, oh man, they're just killing the esports game. Like Halo came out of the gate so strong. Like HCS is getting huge viewership. They did team skins out of the gate, and meanwhile in CDL your team skins are like a World War II soldier in a hoodie, which doesn't make any sense. And then you look over at Valorant and just out of champs, the teams and champs are each taking home about $500K from their skin sales. Just each team, like, no matter how they did. And now you look over at Call of Duty Vanguard and it's just, you know, just some guy in a hoodie and you're hoping for the best.
So at this point, it just seems like CDL is not in a great spot. One more interesting thing I want to throw in there that we saw this past week was some pros, probably the most notable being Justin Fargo Silly, who played for the Gorillas last year, I believe, who is now getting full rides, that is scholarships, to colleges. And so they're getting a full ride to wherever they're going, which is just insane to me. It doesn't seem like Vanguard or Call of Duty in general is setting up many players, pro players, for a backup plan. Streaming, some of them can, but really like only Formal and Scump. At this point, we do have that 12th team who has finally joined into Oxygen, along with Kraft, the people who own the Patriots. And so if you're not part of those 12 teams, why would you not take it? But at this point, it seems like Vanguard and the CDL, not in a great position. Of course, like we said, the CDL and Vanguard is in shambles, but so is the Warzone scene. Things just not really working out probably how a lot of people wanted it to. Caldera, of course, released, I think, about a week ago at this point. I can't remember what day exactly. And so people were very excited about that, but it seems to have more issues than maybe we wanted it to have. There are a lot of glitches at this point, and just to kick things off, I'm going to read a little bit from Aydan. Aydan said, I'm embarrassed to be a COD player right now. It seems like everything from Challenger, CDL, and Warzone are down badly. I could name a million things wrong with Warzone, but what's the point? Part of me wants to stop playing it until the game is fixed, but I don't know. He then says, I'm in disbelief that there are tournaments even running right now, especially 100Ks, but hey, all us players just play in them anyways, so why should tournament organizers care? To me, I think that explains the state of Warzone and how creators are feeling at this point, probably more than anything else can. It's very direct, saying, hey, how are we competing in these things if in these tournaments that are worth 100K, if we have all these issues, there's so many glitches, so many problems, and a lot of people just aren't happy.
Yeah, and we've seen some insane glitches. We saw in the, I believe it was the Twitch Rivals EU event, the 75K that got canceled because of the glitches, was one of them was a guy won a gulag, goes out of the gulag, turns into an airplane, and flies around the map before like face planting and dying. And so you've got Twitch rivals basically deciding like we're not gonna mess with Warzone until this is all fixed. You've got some other big people kind of pulling back. You got a lot of Warzone pros like Zlaner going in there. Zlaner Huskers have all kind of said like, man, I don't know how I feel about trying to play an event on a game that just feels like it's just a glitchy mess. It's not.
Right. I think to me, that makes a lot of sense why people would just want to boycott it, because who knows if you're playing in these, are you going to get the advantage like that, like Bobby Poff did? Or are you going to be, the sad other guy who didn't get it, who's getting shot by Bobby Poff,
Or just do what happened to Doc and Timmy and Lupo, like all back to back in that other event where it was just, hey, we're in the gulag. Oh, we won, but we're still dead.
Right.
We're just, like Doc kills Zlander in the gulag, gets really excited, cuts right back to the dead screen. He realizes, oh, I won the gulag, but the game glitched, and I'm just dead now.
So as of right now, supposedly we also have Ricochet that was implemented. I don't know if we've had any real confirmation of it or really how it's working.
They have,
so far.
They finally, Call of Duty late yesterday did put out a thing saying that all North American servers require the full level kernel of Ricochet to be active.
Interesting. So along with that, hopefully we'll see a little bit of improvement in the Warzone scene with cheating. But as far as glitches on Caldera go, I'm not sure how we are going to get any improvements anytime soon, but it seems like some content creators are fed up with it. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to the Razer Recap this week. We will see you guys next week, and we'll catch you later.
Bye.